Yeah, let's do that. Oh, too late. Yeah, let's do that. Oh well, we're live. This is how it's gonna go. Okay. No pressure to really perform. I like this. Welcome to the show. Let's see. I'm your host of the evening and the producer of Comic Sans. My name's Alice Rose. I'm really excited to be doing this. A little bit about me. I'm the creator of the Comic Sans Network. I also produce a bunch of live shows in Toronto, such as Gender Outlaws, which is a show for trans, non-binary, gender non-conforming performers. I run a show called Joke Shop, and a chosen family variety show. I've competed in Comedian of the North. I was recently nominated for an iHeart Jokes Award, which I will never get because the world is over and they've had to cancel the award ceremony. So fingers crossed. Maybe I'll get it next year. Yeah, and I've also appeared on Just the Last 42, CTV, and Netflix's Designated Survivor. And we're here today to do a little comedy show for you. So we do this show live throughout Southern Ontario, and it's always a huge, huge success. And of course, with venues shutting down and everything breaking, the world is on fire. We can't do that anymore. So we're really excited to bring this show to an online audience, and when we have an audience, yeah, and just get ourselves out there, and it also gives us an opportunity to get comics on the show who don't live in the Toronto area, and we can explore some of my favorite comics from around across the country. The show is pretty simple. It's a showcase format, so all of our comics are going to perform 12 to 15 minutes of their finest material to their cameras in their living room with our very wonderful headliner, Cindy Rivers, who I'm really super excited to have. So, this is a show performed by comedians in their living rooms or backyards or bedrooms or on their phones or whatever. It's the show that nobody asked for. Just like Donald Trump's sex tape or that Cats movie, you know?
Can you guys hear me? I know you can hear me. Can you guys hear me?
We've got Chris muted. Perfect. All right. Chris is just joining the chat. Yeah, so this is the show that nobody asked for, like Donald Trump sex tape or the film adaptation of the musical Cats, because nobody asked for that, right? If you haven't seen this movie, just don't waste your time. Spare yourselves. This thing, I'm telling you, this is the ugliest thing to happen to musical theater since Susan Boyle. That Cats movie was the most tragic thing to happen to Andrew Lloyd Webber since prostate cancer. That Cats movie was the worst thing to happen to Cats since Joe Exotic. I like that I got to develop that joke a little bit. It used to be Luca Magnotta, but now we have Tiger King in the world. We're all blessed for that. Let's talk a little bit about me. Let's see. Oh, exciting news. I just saved a bundle of my car insurance by switching to female. I am a trans woman. Some of you might be assuming I have a penis between my legs, but you'd be wrong. Well, I obviously have a penis between my butt cheeks, because I'm a lady. I actually do have a penis, vagina. Oops. Do I have a penis? Do I have a vagina? Who knows? Only time will tell. I've decided to nickname my vagina recently. I'm really happy with it. Came up with the nickname The Last Unicorn. Obviously, because it's pink and glittery and full of magic and wonder. And also because it swipes right on couples. But mostly because it only reveals itself to young virginal girls in the woods. Thank you. I hate that one. I really, really do. I'm streaming today from my attic, my apartment in the west end of Toronto. I'm really happy about it. Been in quarantine for a couple months now. Haven't seen people face to face in a really long time. Forgetting all of those social niceties like how to shake hands or um, how to hold it when you have to pee. Um, anyone else just forgetting how to hold it now? I don't know. It's going to be a weird reintroduction into this, into society once everything comes back to normal, isn't it? Sorry, just checking in with the chat. What else should we talk about? Yeah, quarantine's a funny time. It's really strange. I I had a video chat with my sister this morning, and she asked me a really offensive question. She asked, "What's new?" That's a question that doesn't age well in these times, is it? Isn't it? What's new? I don't know. What is new? I took a little stroll around my living room this morning. That was fun. Nice long stroll. I wore a thin spot in my rug. I ate my last fresh vegetable 3 days ago. Thank you very much. What is new? I just learned that I don't hate spam as much as I thought I would. What's new? Come on. Come on. That's pretty much it about me. Yeah, I've wasted about enough of your time. We're gonna get this show going. So we've got a really, really exciting show for you. Some of my favorite comics from all over the place. Some from coast to coast, literally from Vancouver to St. John's. And then we travel quite a bit north for Cindy. Um, Oh, before we start the show, I just want to introduce you to some people behind the scenes, my co-producers, Sarah and Krista. You can chat with Krista actually in the Twitch stream for the chat. So if you for the chat, I am such an old lady. You can do the Twitch on the chat thing, and Krista will be on the other line. You can call her and she'll answer your calls. Oh my God. But yeah, Krista can answer any questions or take suggestions. If you're tuning in, I'd love to hear where you're tuning in from. So make sure to mention that in the chat. And then Sarah is she's our house gal in the back of the white van with all the computer tech equipment. She's making sure we all look good on the screen and you can hear us all. And she's doing all the complicated thing this old lady doesn't know how to do. So I just want to thank them for helping us with this production. And make sure to like Comic Sans on Facebook to find more about these shows, and subscribe to this Twitch channel and all of those other fun things. Are we ready to get the show started? We've got 3 audience members in Kristen's backyard, so we're going to roll through here. Our very first performer, I'm really excited to see him again. I had a chance to perform with him in Thunder Bay, where we got to perform together for the Comedian of the North Festival. He's just a little sweetie. I fell in love with him that weekend. He now lives in Vancouver, BC. He is most known for his work on the television show APTN's The Laughing Drum. I actually know what that is. Super excited to see that. And he's performed everywhere, clubs, theaters, festivals, and now his workplace with a fancy little chalkboard. Let's give a warm round of applause for Sasha Mark.
Thank you. It's okay. Thank you for the wonderful introduction, Alice. And you know what? Let's give a big round of applause for, I guess, everybody who's also doing all the work behind this page. Make sure you're messaging Krista on that Twitch chat. It'll be so much fun that way. Yeah. I guess before, and I think you folks didn't see this, but everyone in behind the scenes was picking on my mustache. Is it like a decent mustache? Can you comment below if it's okay? Like it looks fine, I think. So I started growing out my mustache back in November for like a super basic reason, because because I was depressed. I was like, I'm not doing okay, but I'm But speaking of not doing okay, yeah, COVID-19 is happening right now. The whole situation is happening. I remember when it first kind of broke out, I had a really like racist like person come up to me. I was on the bus and it was like a packed bus and I was just sitting on the bus and I coughed. Oops. And he like stood up and backed away. And then as he was backing away, he said, "Fucking Chinese people." And I was like, "What?" I know it's fucked up. And I was just like, "Dude, I'm not even from China. Like, I'm indigenous. You know, I live here." And then everybody else in the back of the bus moved back. You know, they're like, ah. Yeah. So a little bit about myself. Um, I became a dad not too while ago. Yeah, I became a dad. Hold applause. It was by accident. Oops. I became a dad, and well, you're like, it's accident. How'd that happen? And I don't know. I always, for me, when it came to that, I always made sure that I used a condom. I always made sure that my partner was on the pill. I'm a gay bottom, so it's like, how did I have a baby? How did I have a baby? Um, so I became an emergency foster dad. That's how I kind of became a dad. That was my situation. And to be quite honest at it, I'm not the best dad. I don't always know what I'm doing. Like who's watching them right now? I don't know. I don't know. Um, but I'm pretty sure they're okay. It's always really difficult for me, being a dad all the time. For instance, like I never really had a dad growing up, so I don't really know how that always kind of worked. Oops. Ah. So I don't always know how that kind of worked. Um, yeah, because yeah. So my dad, I say that I have like three biggest disappointments in my life. One was my dad, leaving me at the age of 8. The second being COVID-19, and then the third being the Wi-Fi here. Like it's like a little dodgy here. We're lucky, I think, for now. Also, like, what if my dad tries to iMessage me? Like, I need that Wi-Fi. um, it's been really good being a foster dad though. I've had the opportunity to teach in games that we used to play growing up as kids. Like the games like Walk Yourself to Walmart. That was a game. Another game that we used to play was Why Is Mommy Crying? Um, it's because of you. You win, kid. I don't know. Another game that I had the opportunity to teach them is hide and seek. Give me a round of applause at home if you know how to play hide and seek or hands up or whatever. Yeah, my dad is really good at that game. So yeah, where are you? I remember taking my foster kids to a candy store one time. So I took them to a candy store, and we walked into the candy store, and it was like, okay, you can go in the store. We'll pick one candy, and then we'll disperse, and then we'll buy it, and then we'll leave. So they all go looking at different candies, and then my youngest one, she's at this section of candy. She's like looking at it very like intriguedly. So she's like looking at it, and then she looked at me, and she was like, "Daddy, come here." And I was like, "You're not my boyfriend. You can't call me that." And I was like, "Okay." So then I walked over to her, and I was like, "Oh, what are you looking at?" And she was looking at these candies, and they had bugs in them. You know those candies that have like chocolate covered like ants and like chocolate covered crickets and there's like lollipops of scorpion. So she was like looking at those candies, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, are these bugs real?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, those bugs are real." She's like, "Wait, people eat these bugs?" I was like, "Yeah, people eat bugs all the time." And she's like, "Wait, people eat bugs?" And I was like, "Yeah." You've never been to Denny's before, you know? Ew. Another thing about myself, yeah, I'm a gay man. I said that before, and I think people come out in a variety of different ways. Sometimes people come out, face to face. Sometimes people come out via text message. I got a job at Lush, um, so I remember working at Lush, and this customer came up to me, and I was showing him the massage bar, and at one point he literally said, "Hey, can you use this massage bar one day on my dick and make me come? And I was like, that's disgusting. That is what? I was like, I don't know how do you respond to that? I don't know. So I was like, sir, we're at a Lesh. We are in the massage bar section. The facial section's over here. So just come on this way. You know, I loved working at Lush. It was such a fun store. I remember I working at another retail store, and this customer came up to me, and he came up to me with the product and the money, and so he gave it to me, and I started counting the cash, and then the customer was like, "Oh, you're gay," and I was like, "What?" I was like, I don't know what that means. And then he was like, so I asked him, it's like, what do you mean by that? And he's like, oh, you just hold money in a gay way. And I was just like, what? I don't know. I don't know what that means. Like what? So I asked him again. It's like, but like, what do you mean by that? And he was just like, you just do. And I was like, okay, well, your change is 525,600. And then we made out. It was hot. I think that yeah, and I grew up in a city with a lot of racism. I grew up in Winnipeg, Manitoba. We are the racism capital of Canada. Um, so I grew up there, and I remember going to this one party, and I think I met the most racist person I've ever met. He was like at a party, and he was like saying like really profound racist things at the party where everyone can hear him. Like he was like in the corner of the party saying like, "Man, all black people they steal cars, all Asian people they steal jobs, all Native people they steal bikes." And I was like, "Whoa, dude, that's racist." And he was just like, "So what?" It was like, "Dude, like you're white. Like didn't your people like steal all those people? You know, just and they, And then he put me in his backpack. Um, so I got in trouble with that joke one time. I got in trouble with that joke in a place called Thunder Bay. Have you heard of it? Thunder Bay. That's where I met Alice. Thunder Bay's a fun city. It's full of diversity. Full of diversity. The Asian community there, they're white. The black community out there, they're white. Then in the indigenous community out there, we're scared, So I was telling that joke in Thunder Bay and just going through that joke. And I was at the point where I was like, man, all black people, they steal cars. All Asian people, they steal jobs. All Native people, they steal bikes. And that's where they thought the joke was. It was just like, okay, that's awful. That's where they were clapping and applauding. And they were like, Sasha, Sasha, Sasha. I was like, oh my God, what? So then I became the mayor of Thunder Bay. And then they put me in their backpack. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the scary things in life. I love scary movies. I love haunted houses. I love being native in Winnipeg. That's my jam. And one of my favorite things to do with friends is to play with the Ouija board. Has anybody ever played with the Ouija board before? Comment below. I don't know how this is working. So we were playing with the Ouija board, and we were like asking a very basic question for like, is there like a ghost here? It didn't move. We're like, okay, ghost, like ghost, do you have a name? No response. We're like, okay, ghost, are you like a good ghost or like a bad ghost? It didn't move, and we're like, okay. Uh, we're like, okay. So we got ghosted. Mm-hmm. If you laughed at that, that was a bad joke. Don't laugh at that. That's awful. Don't. It was a dad joke, but I didn't have a dad, so I have an excuse. So we're doing the Ouija board session, and I realized that I was in danger because I was playing the Ouija board with all my friends, and they happened to be white, and we were doing it in the cabin in the middle of the woods. I've seen a horror movie before, and I'm the brown one. So what happens to brown people in horror movies? We, like die. We die first, and that's how it is, and it sucks every time. But then I realized that I'm going to be okay, because they don't cast Indigenous people in horror movies. So I'm going to be okay in this one. Actually, no, there is one. Well, there's one horror movie where we get casted in. It's that one horror movie that we keep getting casted in. It's the news. You know. I'm gonna leave you with this. So when I get stressed, I like to go to the sauna and like take it easy and relax. I think that's good for me. This is pre-COVID. So I went to the sauna at the YMCA just to go and relax, and this never happened. So I went to the sauna and there was nobody there. There was nobody, and it was like perfect, perfect, perfect. So I was like, I got into the sauna. I was like half naked, and I'm just like chilling in the sauna, just like relaxing after a really like rough day. And then the door opens and a guy comes in, and it's a big space, and it was empty. So he sits right beside me, and I was like, perfect, yay. So he sits right beside me, and he's just like looking at me, and then I was just like, uh-oh, and he kept looking at me, and I was like, and he's like, hey, you look familiar, and I was like, oh, Dad? Oh, that's my dad. But I was like, oh, okay. You look familiar. And I was like, okay. Hey, you're Sasha. You're that guy from APTN. I was like, oh, yeah, that's me. Hi. He's like, oh my gosh, I love your work. Can I take a picture of you? And I was like, what? You want to take a what? Like, I'm in a sauna, half naked. I'm hot. I'm like having a stress day. I'm like not okay. And it's like, oh my god, dude. Of course you can. You can definitely take a picture of me. And you're like, Sasha, you let a complete stranger take a photo of you in a sauna at a YMCA? I was like, no, I didn't let him take a picture. I made him take lots. Oh, there's lots. All right, that's my time. Thank you so much. My name is Sasha Mark, and let's give this show back to Alice, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yay! Thank you, Sasha. Thank you so, so much. I think I unmuted my mic a little too early and got a little laugh in there. Sorry about that. What a wonderful performance. Let's I don't give some hearts in the chats or some applause. Some applause to Sasha here. Yeah, some really bad times in Thunder Bay. I don't know. I just want to put you in my backpack and take you home, Sasha. I love the mustache, by the way. I don't think it's overgrown. I think it's really, really, it's coming in nice and full. Nice and full. I like it. I have been trying to grow mine as well, but not really. Nothing here. Nothing here. Laser hair removal. It's worth every $1,000 you spend on it. That being said, body hair, facial hair, all of those hair things are weird. Check out these eyebrows. All right. I don't trust myself to do my own eyebrows, and I can't go to anyone. They're so disgustingly grown in. I don't need glasses. Those are some COVID eyebrows. I don't need glasses. I just wear them to cover up the gross part of my eyebrows. I'm so unkempt. You should see my legs. Ew. Ew. Enough about that. I'm really excited about our next performer. Can't wait to get him on. He's such an absolute sweetheart. We haven't met in person, but I got to introduce myself to him from some production work and some agency work way too long ago, and then I got to interview him for an article, and he's stolen my heart. Absolutely, what an absolute sweetie. He is so completely multi-talented. He's an opera singer. He's a boss producer. Better than me even. He's an improviser, comedian. He's performed all over the place. He's opened up for some of my favorite Canadian performers, such as Deanne Smith and Ryan Dillon. Tell Ryan I said hi, by the way. Yeah, and he's opened for Don Hendricken, Trent McClellan, and Ryan Sickler. And now he's here with us from his friend's backyard in the deep recesses of St. John's, Newfoundland. Give it up for Christopher Dunn. He's muted. Yay, he's gonna get it. Awesome.
The camera is too act for. I need to make sure my friends set up a stage for me. This is very nice of you. Thank you very much for letting me come to your backyard, because I really, truly believe that everyone's like, oh my God, we'll get back to normal at some point. And yes, I have a glitter microphone. My mother raised me to be fabulous. This is what unbridled love and affection looks like. There are some people who are deprived of it completely and they turn into artists, and there are some people who get too much of it, and that is what I am. I realize that is absolutely what I am. My mother has to leave the house fabulous. Today, I would tell you, she was going to the grocery store for the first time in town for a while, so she really had to get herself dolled up. She goes into the washroom with Grey Root and comes out going, different? I'm like, what's up? What did you do? And offended, she's like, I put foundation on my roots. She put foundation to cover up the gray, and sarcastically, I was like, oh, you should, no offense, but I think you should add some bronzer. And then she fucking did. She put on bronzer, and it actually looked fantastic. She ran into one of my high school friends' parents, and they were like, oh my God, it looks like you just got a touch-up done. Who's your stylist? Fucking makeup in her hair. You need to be fabulous when you're my mother. You grow up wanting to leave the house looking like a movie star. It's really nice to be, thank you. It's really nice. It's really nice to be in front of people doing this so I can steal your Wi-Fi. No, it's really, because I think like everybody's like, oh man, the world is going to change. The world's going to be so different after COVID. Man, artists are going to be revitalized after this. I don't think a fucking thing is going to change. I think we're going to stay home more. I think honestly, yeah, exactly. I think we're gonna look at this. Look at what's happening right now. There's a fire pit going. People are enjoying themselves. Beer, no stress. People are in hoodies, right? No dressing up. Like, this is our friends. This is nice. But like, well, I dress up for you guys. But anyway, I don't mind. It's Tim's birthday. It's not mine. Don't compliment me on how I look. But anyway, I think people are gonna stay at home just as much, because like now, like, you send somebody a show link, I really appreciate the work that you do, Alice, and like all online producers do, and it's just fucking hard to get people to go to things, especially when they're on their couch. There's so many options. You have the entirety of Netflix. You used to leave the house to get away from Netflix. Now there's no escape. We're all just we're competing with literal movie superstars, and we're like, I'm in a backyard because I forced my way into a birthday party, like some twisted stand-up clown. Like, I just showed up. Bozo's fucking here, everybody. Like, who knows if you all wanted this? I texted Brent alone. He's like, oh man, we're just having a fire. Come by. And then like, you're all here. I'm like, oh great, maybe. Maybe you like this right now, but I can't be sure until I leave. And I can't be sure until I leave, and I leave my phone recording in the grass because it's dark and you won't find it, and then I can hear what you all said about me. So that's what I'm contending with. Fucking Dave Chappelle is what I'm contending with right now. This is great. I got literally a ray of light to match my personality. This is wonderful. This is fucking perfect. Yeah, I came prepared, obviously, with Lysol wipes. This is very, yeah. No, this is a fucking Oprah. This is gold. I was going out the door, and my mom was like, wait, I'll put it in a Ziploc baggie for you. Mom would make an incredible dealer, is what I'm trying to say. She'd be very well prepared. She's very kind to me. Sometimes I think she cares too much, though. I think, because like I went to Winnipeg one time, and Sasha will maybe appreciate this, on a vacation. Not normally, right? It's not fucking Disney for sure, right? You know, there's a lot of good parts about Winnipeg, and we got family there, so we went. One of my favorite parts about Winnipeg is the Disney store that they have, and I know that sounds uncouth, you might say, but the Disney store in Winnipeg. I went in front of it, and since the last trip that we took to Disney was so much fun with my family, it was my mom, my brother, and myself there. we went in front of the Disney store, and Mom suggested, I repeat, she suggested that we take a picture in front of the Disney store. Right? Just so you know, that's a volume she speaks at before I say the rest of this. And she said, let's get a picture in front of the Disney store. I took it, a perfectly fine picture, and I say to her, oh, I'll post that now, because otherwise, what was the fucking point of taking a picture in front of the Disney store unless you're going to show people, right? Those are the kind of pictures I treasure now during this time. We can't go anywhere. We can't go to fucking malls. We're all online shopping. Everyone just head to toe Fashion Nova bikinis, like a full fucking snowsuit, leaving it out. But I show that to her. I'll post this now. She goes, don't do that. They'll rob the house and kill Pop. They'll rob my house. If I post a picture because we live in St. John's, we took it in Winnipeg, and criminals are just obviously scrolling through Facebook, right? Not actually doing crime. Right? Criminals, my mom thinks criminals have nothing to be at. My mom thinks criminals are like criminals now in isolation, just sitting at home. Like, fuck, I'd go stab somebody, but I gotta get a longer knife. There's regular stabbing criminals walking around with machetes now out of necessity, right? Oh, good talking to Scott. That's a boon. Listen, that animals and shows are going to be more popular than I'm ever going to be, because Dave Chappelle dogs me. That's the hierarchy. That's the hierarchy. Hey, look, see what my mom is very supportive, obviously, like I said, but I gotta tell, it's almost like annually I tell this story. It's almost a year since I told this story. I haven't told this very often, because I think it's just fucking weird. But again, this is what unbridled love does to people. This is how they grow up. I do accents, and everyone's like, give us one. Trust me, this will make the story sweeter if I don't. Yes. I do accents. You know, you'd think, since I look like Hitler's wet dream, I do German. I do, but I look like an alien. I look like a Nazi alien. I look like what aliens would have created if they were Nazis. Just like, let's give him this handsome face and then make his brain all fucked up. Give him the weirdest ideas and the most beautiful complexion. That wasn't some of you are laughing, some of you are judging the quality of that German accent. Doesn't matter. The story I got to tell you is I since I do accents, my friends and when I was just leaving high school were like, you need to audition to play this part at Universal Studios, like in the theme park. And I was like, okay, send me the link. They sent me the audition for the voice of the shrunken head from Harry Potter. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? The Jamaican Rastafarian shrunken head from Harry Potter. The one on the night bus that greets Harry. Hey, you're welcome aboard, bro. Bumpy ride. Like that's who they decided I should be. And I'm like, you know what? I'm young, naive. I don't know. Universal Studios may choose me or not. So I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna go for it. I look, the audition itself is actually in Orlando. And I'm like, I go to my mom and my dad, and I'm like, I don't know. Listen, I can't take it. It's in Orlando. And Mom's like, sure, I got air miles. So she funds with my father this random trip. I had a job as a swim coach. I think the reason I'm so comfortable in front of people is because I was swimming for like 8 years of my life, half naked for tons of people. Like, well, not tons of swimming, but like back and forth. You know, you've got Dave Chappelle to watch. So I am fucking on my way to Orlando to do this fucking audition. I write the monologue on the plane. I only remember to you're supposed to have this prepared far in advance, but the way my brain works, I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna eat this Big Mac from the Newark airport and I'm gonna bust this one out. That's the advantage of this weird fucking brain. I'm like shrunken head from a 6'6" tall fucking blonde white guy. No problem. Let's write this out. And I only remember 2 lines. I'll do it for you now. This is the straighter part, hopefully, of this set. Here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard and mind your head. Oh, and a word of warning about your cameras. Don't use the flash. Makes me feel light-headed. The only 2, they groaned all the way through. But they were like, at the end, I was cocky enough to book the flight expecting a callback. They were like, are you available for a callback? Can you fucking imagine if I was just like, nah, I just came in out of nowhere? I had, again, a full-time job as a swim coach. When they asked for availability for April, May, I just said, completely free. I was like, maybe this will heighten my chances. Oh, you better fucking believe it did, because they were like, you want to call back? I was like, for sure. So then my trip is like to fruition. I'm actually getting it. Like, so just understand, we just our factors here. Tall blonde guy auditioning for the role of Jamaican shrunken head like that big at Universal Studios, the inaugural voice of the shrunken head. So this is gonna be the first fucking time that they ever do it. Okay? The stars of Harry Potter a year later would go to the park and like tour that new area of Diagon Alley. I would have been fucking probably in the top of a double-decker bus in like fucking 30-degree Florida weather, laid flat on my stomach, going like, hey, welcome, Draco. Like, it's nuts, obviously. And I go to the callback at like 6 fucking, no, not 6 hours. Basically an hour trying to go around. It seems like a really long time in my head, so that's why I say 6 hours. I was in a taxi for an hour, circling Universal Studios, trying to figure out where this fucking audition was taking place. Right under our noses the whole time, basically just behind the building I was already in. I go inside and like I wasn't out at the time. I'm a bisexual guy, but I didn't know then. So it's a lot like it's just me, Straighty McDunn, and 40 of the most enthusiastic gay men I've ever seen in my life. Just the guy comes in, he's like, "Who's ready to audition?" And everyone raised up like they're at a sporting event, like, "Yay!" That's like, all right, here we go. I go in for the audition. I read with. So I'm reading for a Jamaican shrunken head. The guy reading with me is supposed to be British. He's an Irish guy. So a newbie and an Irishman walk into an audition room. There's another setup. I do the audition. It goes pretty well. Literally, as soon as I leave, the fireworks show starts, like in the background. If someone had to be filming it low, kind of, I just realized this is a really weird angle to be filming at. Like I already feel tall enough. I don't need to be fucking looming down. And like, if I fall, this show is fucking over for this area. You know, like this whole the fire's gone. I'm tanking the whole event. But I do the audition. The fireworks go off, and he's like, "To be honest, mate, I didn't pin you for a Rastafarian." I wouldn't have pinned you for an Irishman either. I wouldn't have pinned you for an Englishman either. I do, and they call me. They call me the like 2 weeks after. I'm back at my job. My head coach, pissed, understandably. Because I happened to mention to him, hey, I need to take this call. Already, like, oh no, I'm just got to leave work for a second to take this call. About what? Well, I auditioned. You remember I left for that week and didn't really say where I was going in advance. I auditioned to be, what a shrunken head is. And so there's this buzz, right? And then anyway, much angry discussion later, I get a call from them, and they're like, "We see you have a 709 area code. Is that from somewhere outside Florida?" And verbatim, I told them, "Yeah, I'm on an island in the Atlantic." And she was like, "Yeah, you got about a week to get your visa figured out." So I didn't get the fucking job after. That's it. I don't know how to finish that story ever because it's just so fucked up. This fucking Aryan went to be a Rastafarian boy. Like, I wonder who they got now. I wonder if I was caste typed. I wonder if I'm just who they wanted. I wonder if they molded the future choices after me. Were they like, I don't trust people that look like Nazis anymore. Fuck it. Maybe I actually saved it. Maybe now they choose the phrase it should be. Right? Maybe now they actually go with someone who isn't this fucking white. The white, now I appreciate the light, but again, ray of white light hitting this is like, oh, is the fucking moon out? I don't know. Like, my mother sticks me in the backyard sometimes to get rid of the moss from the porch. She has company over in the backyard. They're up on the deck. She's just like, go stand in the middle of the yard, fucking radiant beam. How much time have I got left, Sasha? Or Alice? 4 hours. Good. I'll tell her. No. Okay. I'm good. I'm done. Okay. I'm done. All right. Thank you. That's been my time. Thank you very much. All right.
Yay! Keep it going for Chris Dunn.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Sorry, I was trying to turn on my microphone while responding. Sorry if I was giving mixed messages. We are all good. Thank you so much, Chris. Oh, that was amazing. We have one more comic before our headliner, and he's super special to me. I got to have him on one of my shows when he passed through Toronto. He was also one of the first guests on my podcast, The Corona Shift. We'll get Krista to drop a link to the podcast later, and he's just an absolute delight. I'm really excited to have him on the show and to show him off to all of you. He's a Vancouver comic who won the Yuckoff Comedy Contest in 2018 and the 2019 Vancouver Comedy Award for Breakout Artist of the Year. Also, check out his album Burger Queen, which is available on all major platforms, Spotify, Google Play, and iTunes, I think. I'm going to drop the Spotify link in the chat as well. It's hilarious. I absolutely love it. And he's graced us with his presence to do our show here. So let's give a warm round of applause for Steev Letts.
And I'm unmuted, right? We're good? Awesome. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. Very happy to be here. Isolation has been weird for me so far. I don't know about any of you out there, but isolation has forced my family to pretend that we like each other and want to talk to each other all the time, which has been kind of a bummer. My family decided that we would have a Zoom meeting over Easter dinner, which didn't make any sense to me at all. I didn't understand why we couldn't take this year for the blessing that it was, just call it a freebie and all have takeout from our respective homes. But no, somebody decided to have the bright idea to combine the stop-and-go awkwardness of a teleconference with the forced merriment of a family gathering. It was garbage. It's also a bummer because I'm off booze right now, so I couldn't even make a drinking game out of it. I couldn't take a swig every time we have to repeat something from my grandma, or take 2 swigs every time there's a Trump reference. Finish your drink if your uncle uses an outright racial slur. It's probably for the best we didn't play that game. I probably would have needed my stomach pumped. I decided to try some self-help books while in isolation, which has been an interesting ride. The first one I tried is The 5 Love Languages. And this is one that I tried just because I've heard a lot of people referencing it online. It's sort of in the cultural zeitgeist. And it's fucking bullshit. I don't know if anyone's read it, but it's ridiculous. It's thinly veiled Christian propaganda. It's a total nightmare. There's this one extended example in this book, and it's this woman, and she's got a husband who's outwardly hostile to her. They've been in horrible shape for a long time as a couple. All of her friends tell her to get the hell out of there, but she's deeply religious and she wants to stay with him. And so the author counsels her to just fuck her husband more, fuck him all the time, which on its own is not bad advice. But she says, I do have a fair amount of sex with my husband, and he's still mean to me. And so this guy's like, well, what you should do is just fuck him steadily for about 6 months. I'm paraphrasing here, of course. He says, fuck him steadily for about 6 months, and then gradually you can start asking him to do nice stuff for you. And then he tells her if she has trouble getting on board with taking repeated plowings from a hostile dick, she should just think about Jesus' sermon about loving his enemies. I'm not making this up. This is all stuff that's actually in the book. And I just had no idea like what a fucking minefield it is to be a woman. Even self-help books that are dressed up as female empowerment are actually just trying to trick you into sucking more dick. It's a real minefield out there. I do feel for you. Also, you know that this 5 love languages is bullshit because none of the 5 love languages is feeding. And that's how you know it's bullshit. The real 4 love languages should be sex, talking, quiet time, and feeding. Not necessarily in that order. Feeding is probably the most powerful of all the love languages, not even in a romantic or sexual way. Like, I had a coworker, this old Chinese lady named Mabel, and one day I was working the front desk and I got chewed out by 3 old ladies, like chewed the fuck out for 10 minutes, and my boss was a jellyfish. He did nothing about it. And so Mabel went to the grocery store on her fucking lunch break, and she brought me back a roast chicken. She said, I want you to have this because I know you had a rough day. And I haven't seen her in years, but I would kill most of my friends' moms to save her life. She means more to me than a lot of my family do, if I'm being totally honest. One thing I'm trying really hard in isolation not to do is nag. I'm trying not to become just a nag in life in general. I don't want to be overtly negative. It's something that worries me a lot because I come from a mother who is an F5 tornado of black thoughts. She's just, everything she says is really fucking grim, and I worry that I'm becoming more like her, and she takes umbrage to it if she ever catches me saying like, oh no, I'm turning into my mother. She says, you know, your father is an immunocompromised drug addict with several blood diseases and no top teeth. You could do worse than turning into your mother, you know? You could be turning into cracky Joe McHepatitis, but oh no, heaven forbid you should become a bit of a downer. She said, you'd also be a little less than chipper too if you were married to a crackhead and then raised one son who turned out to be an ungrateful little bitch. She's got a point. I think a lot of us have learned many things about our spouses during isolation. I, for one, had no idea how much pooping my husband was doing at the office before COVID. I also didn't know I married the type of man who would take a shit during a conference call, but that is a thing that absolutely happened that I cannot unknow about him. My husband is actually, he does work in the medical field. He's an occupational therapist. He works at St. Paul's Hospital. And so when he was first ordered to work from home, because he's working on an IT project for them right now, so he was allowed to work from home. And at first I was really relieved for like both of our health and safety. But then after spending 3 days all the time at home with a fucking 6'5" steam clock, I was like, babe, don't you think they miss you at the hospital? Like, I know working from home is nice and everything, but how would you like a round of applause for a minute at 7 p.m. every day, huh? I know isolation has been hard on a lot of gay men, especially single gay men who, without the ability to hook up, can get incredibly lonely. That can be really difficult for them. As I said, I am married. I'm isolating at home with my husband. So COVID has not lessened the amount of sex that I'm having, but it has drastically increased the percentage of my sexual encounters that include my husband. And having a pandemic sort of corral us back into monogamy hasn't really been a bad thing. It's actually been kind of nice, if I'm being totally honest. Going back to just being monogamous, it's a lot like revisiting an old video game. You know what I mean? Like, it might not be as exciting as the first time you played, but it's nice to know you remember all the shortcuts and you still deserve to hold that high score. I do love being in an open relationship. Open relationships are perfect for me because I'm a softie, you know, and I enjoy the safety and the security that I get from my marriage. But I'm also a hot-blooded man, and every once in a while, I enjoy the thrill of getting sexually rejected online. I thought being in an open relationship would be like when I had a full-time day job, but I still waited tables on weekends. Those were actually really fun serving shifts because I didn't need the money. You know, I was just there to make a little weekend drug money. I was relaxed. I was even aloof with my tables, and they loved me for it. An open relationship is less like having a fun side job and more like sweating through a series of training shifts for jobs that you don't actually want. And you wonder why you keep applying, but you know, you're a fragile little man with a big ego, and at the end of the day, you just want to know that you're still hireable. I have 2 dating or hookup apps on my phone, but I do delete them sometimes just because I need a break, because it can be pretty bleak on there. Not always. Sometimes it's really fun. Sometimes you have no strings attached sex with a handsome stranger with good hygiene. Other times you go to a dimly lit basement suite that smells like cat pee and you drill a clinically depressed person. And it's all part of the game. You know, those ones are always hard, but once you realize they're dead behind the eyes, you think like, I'm already here. And I don't want to hurt this person's feelings, you know, like it's hard enough that they're already lonely. If I reject them now, they're going to feel lonely and rejected. I could send this person into a tailspin. That's not helping anybody. It's not just about getting my rocks off. I could be saving this person's life, I tell myself as I unzip my jeans. And like the thing is, you never want to sound sex negative. That's such a taboo in the gay community. You don't want to sound like a sex negative old crone, but there are certain behaviors that we exhibit, gay men exhibit, that are dangerous and scary, and it freaks me out. And I think we should talk about them more. One example of that would be party and play, or P&P. I'm not sure if you've heard of that. Party and play is a term used in the gay community to describe the practice of getting messed up on a bunch of different chemical drugs and engaging in group sex, often at warehouse parties. And it's an incredibly dangerous and surprisingly common thing. And I understand that everyone's journey is their own and our bodies are ours to destroy. But I do think if we can't stop people from participating in the behavior, we should at least just give it a less woefully misleading name. Because party and play sounds fun as shit. My opinion. Party and play is like the answer that a 9-year-old gives you when you ask him what he did for his birthday. You need to call it something more on the nose. Maybe bugger and binge, but I think that's still a little too cute because of the alliteration of it, you know? I actually have a friend who's got an 18-year-old son who came out as gay a couple years ago, and she actually asked me to have a conversation with him about how to safely use hookup apps like Grindr. And I said, I love your son, but I can't do it. I'm sorry, I just can't do that. For one, I know the boy was raised without a father, and look at me, he's going to fall in love with me for sure. I don't have time to call me by your name, your son right now. I don't need that kind of headache. Also, I just don't really feel qualified to give any advice on how to use hookup apps, because if I look back on my first time using Grindr, it was kind of a masterclass on how to get yourself murdered. I broke several rules of self-preservation. I used the app when I was very drunk, and it was very late at night. It was probably 2 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday night, so technically Monday morning, which is not exactly the witching hour for good dick, I'll tell you that much. The pickings get pretty slim after midnight on a day that was set aside for the Lord. So anyways, I invited someone over to my apartment, and I realized when I buzzed him into my building that I had never seen his face. I had seen pictures, but none of his face. So I didn't know how to verify him. So when he got to my door, I just made him show me his ass through the peephole. And then I let him inside, and I was relieved because he wasn't ugly. He was actually exceptionally handsome. He was a really good-looking guy. And then he opened his mouth, and he had the icy cool demeanor and vaguely Eastern European accent of a generic Bond villain. So we exchanged names. I don't remember what his was, to be honest. Something like Pavel or Igor or something terrifying. Vlad. But I remember the second thing he said to me. He looked me up and down, and he goes, "We take shower now." And I was pretty fucking shook, you know? Like, I had already showered. I knew someone was coming over, so I made sure I was clean. But he was very persuasive and confident, and the way he said it was not technically a question. So I just got in the bathroom with him, and I remember getting undressed, and I was thinking to myself, like, of course we should get in the shower. It'll be so much easier for him to clean up after he slits my throat. But he didn't. He did not try to slit my throat. He didn't try to kill me at all. He just washed us down very thoroughly, which was weird, but kind of nice. That is far more intimate than what I was expecting, you know? Like, I was just expecting casual sex. And I know that that is less intimate than a shower, because I have pounded it out with literally countless strangers. But I can count on one hand the number of lovers with whom I have bathed. So anyways, we get out of the shower, we go to the bedroom and get started. And it became apparent to me very quickly that the reason that he washed us down so thoroughly was also so I would know that he was spotlessly clean and therefore would not flinch when, after 2 minutes of making out, he very aggressively brought his butthole up towards my face. And like, I know that eating ass is all the rage with the kids these days. They never stop talking about it. I'm on TikTok. I know what's going on. And I've never publicly declared a stance on the issue of eating ass. I think our bodies are ours to explore. I think you should do whatever feels good as long as you trust a partner's hygiene. But I just think it's a fucked up thing to brag about. It always drives me nuts. And I think it's because of who is bragging about eating ass. And it's all straight dudes. It's all fucking straight dudes bragging about eating ass like it's some performative marker of masculinity. And that blows my mind. I always want to say, so what? You're eating girl ass. That is not that brave. I've made some split-second decisions that would make most dudes' heads pop off. That's for real. It's not brave to eat girl ass. If you see any straight couple walking down the street today, ask yourself, do you think that her ass crack is cleaner than his toothbrush? Chances are you probably do. So anyways, he brings his butthole up to my face. This whole eternity happens in a moment. I didn't know what to do, but he had shown his work in the shower. I knew that he was spotlessly clean, and so I went to town. It's not even something that I was necessarily into at the time, but we sort of learn a lot about ourselves in those panic moments. And I learned that when push comes to shove, I am less afraid of pink eye than I am of being known as a bad host. Alice, how am I doing for time? 5 minutes? I'm at 12 minutes. Sorry, I should have just rolled with it. I'm just going to keep going. You just let me know when I'm done. Okay, sorry. 2019 was a really weird year for me because I had, 12-minute light, Steve. Got you. Thank you. Well, let me pick something fucking good then. Okay, so I will mention one thing that I'm really excited for to sort of go back to normal is I do miss having three-ways with my husband. I mentioned that we are regularly in an open relationship. And yeah, I miss having three-ways. I love three-ways because I love a sexual encounter that you can tap out from for a minute. You know, and it's always just so thrilling when you get to share the burden of pleasuring someone. Am I right? No, I do really love three-ways. I think that there are different tiers of three-way. They're not all created equal. Some are much better than others. The best type of three-way is also the rarest, and that is when three single horny drunk people bump into each other on a dance floor and they all come up at the same moment and they kind of triangulate their eye contact so everyone is looking into one eye of each person. And then the DJ plays Drunken Love by Beyonce. The DJ just knows. He puts on Drunken Love by Beyonce, and it's like you can see an invisible cyclone of sluttiness touch down and carry these people out of the club, and you know it's on. The second best type of three-way is when a couple takes you home with them, and those are great because you're the feature player, you're the pinch hitter, you're the guest star. You know, you're a big deal. It's also great because if something fucked up happens, you could leave. You can just go home, which is great because sometimes something fucked up happens. Sometimes you get to a second location with a couple and you realize that only one of them is into you and the other one is just complying, which is not good enough for me at all. When I left the bar with you after 2 drinks and 20 minutes, I expected to get worshipped by both of you when we got home. Thank you very much. So you have one of 2 moves in that scenario. You can leave or you can play a power move. And a power move in that situation is where you make sweet love to the hesitant one and you ignore the keener. You're teaching everyone a valuable lesson about teamwork and transparency because there is no I in three-way, motherfuckers. And the third, my least favorite tier of three-way is when you bring a third into your bedroom. And I don't like doing that just because I don't like hosting people at my house because I'm fucking neurotic and I'm going to have to like vacuum because we're fucking some twink later. That sucks. So anyways, I don't love it for that reason. And also, my husband and I are both bigger, scruffier dudes, so we tend to attract a lot of the sort of younger, smoother variety of men. And some of these twinks really have their shit together. My God, they've got tight bodies and bright smiles. Some of these little fuckers have college degrees. And I see my husband getting ideas, and I get nervous. You know? All of a sudden, the three-way has turned into a really fucked up episode of Love It or List It, in which I am playing the bitch wife and the house that doesn't cut it anymore. So I've got to outfuck this pup. He has no idea why I'm suddenly being so cold to him, and I don't want to hurt the kid's feelings, but fuck him, I'm trying to keep a roof over my head, you know? Fucking circles around this kid. I'm blurting weird shit out. Like, sure, he's a new build and he's got a sweet back porch, but he's out of your price range, and I'm already in the neighborhood you love. All right, you guys have been great. I'm Steev Letts. Thank you very much.
Steev Letts, everybody. Don't forget you can hear more from Steev on his album Burger Queen, so check that out. It's so hilarious, so funny. Makes me want to quit comedy. Everything makes me want to quit comedy these days, you know? But yeah, I love being here. I love doing this. Just a quick reminder: our series of Comic Sans shows on Twitch are going to be absolutely free, but we do believe in paying comics. So if you want to donate to the show, just to sort of tip your comics, there is a link down here where you can purchase a ticket. It's completely voluntary. They're donation-based tickets, so any amount you want to give. But that's absolutely not necessary. We're just happy to have you here enjoying the show and chilling with us. And I'm happy to show all these cool people off and all of that. It's wonderful. So I think that's all I wanted to say. This is so different when you're like on a screen. I don't know. Yeah, so it's headliner time. I just wanted to point that out, and we're going to give some links to other ways that you can follow us. We have a monthly newsletter. We don't believe in like spamming your email and shit. So if you do want to sign up for the newsletter, we're going to drop a link into the chat where you can sign up, and we'll let you know once a month what kind of different events are happening. There's so much going on. We have our Twitch shows, podcasts, we have content that we're putting up on YouTube, and then when we get to go out in public again, we're gonna be expanding and doing live shows again. So really excited about that. So be sure to follow Comic Sans, follow all of these amazing comedians. This is where I tell you to buy a drink, but like grab a drink. Just get comfy and let's do it. It's headliner time. I'm super excited to have her on the show. She's she's a complete star. I'm in absolute awe of everything that she does. She's performed and headlined all over Western Canada. She's top 100 for CBC Next Up National Comedy Competition. She was a finalist in the Grindstone Comedy Competition. She's performed in LA in the Los Angeles Diversity and Comedy Festival by Second City. Biggest, coolest thing, she recently opened for Hannah Gadsby, and she performed at the Jessica Laughs Northwest Festival. I'm so happy to have her. Let's welcome to the screen, not the stage, the screen. Let's welcome Cindy Rivers.
All right. Hey, can everybody hear me? Am I unmuted? Okay. All right, cool. That's awesome. So everybody's been like so awesome so far, right? I mean, it's like now I'm scared. So that's good. But guys, we're just gonna jump in, all right? Sometimes people look at me funny, you know, and I don't know how they can always tell so fast that I'm a comedian. It's weird. I don't know how to figure that out. Sure, bye. If you are wondering what's in my voice, though, guys, I actually have a medical condition that makes my voice so deep. It's my penis. No, seriously, I give my left nut for a more feminine voice, and my right one too. Yeah. So I am transgender, if you're wondering. All right, and I'm still transgender if you're not wondering, because it really doesn't change based on wondering. Just so you guys know, doesn't work that way. I am in Alberta right now, Fort McMurray, but I'm originally from Newfoundland, guys. Yeah, Christopher, shout out Newfoundland, right? But if that too many Newfies are throwing you guys off, don't worry, because I identify as an Albertan anyway. I do. I identify as an Albertan. And when I say identify, sometimes people are like, what do you mean identify? I'm like, well, okay, guys. So basically what it means is I was born in Newfoundland, okay? And now I have money. That's how it works. When I first came out as trans, I told my mom. She said, oh, no, he's going to ruin his life. His life is over. I said, Mom's not like that, all right? She's going to ruin her life. That's important. Those pronouns are important. Totally regrets telling me to be more like my sister, for sure. Totally regrets that. But like, I'd be like 8 years old, right, in the bathroom playing with makeup and stuff, and my mom would be knocking on the door like, "What's going on in there? What's taking so long?" And I'd be like, "Drugs." Better answer for an 8-year-old boy, trust me. Better answer. It is. I'll tell you what is weird though. Before I came out, guys, I used to hate stuff like house cleaning, laundry, dishes, chores, that kind of stuff, right? And now I still do because that's not how it works at all. That's not how it works. I'll tell you what is interesting also, being on both sides of the gender spectrum in my adult lifetime. For instance, example, fellas, guys, dudes, you're out there. I know all your secrets. Yeah, guys, I know all your secrets. And guess what? I'm not telling bros before hoes, right? Nah, just kidding. I'm telling you guys are screwed, ladies. They're gonna pee on you in the shower. They're gonna do that. They enjoy it. I'm having fun. Thank you for this because this is wonderful. All right, so I'll quit with some trans stuff. We'll do some more relatable stuff. Do you guys like ever get frustrated when you fall in the toilet in the middle of the night because you're the one that left the seat up, or is that just? Oh, oops, my bad. Or do you know, like when you open a container in the fridge and like you find food in there that's so old that it's alive, and it calls you by your old name? Is that just me? That's okay, fine. Oh, you know what? This pockets, women's clothing and pockets, severe lack. I think there's an industry in this. Anybody who's a designer should get in on this. Put pockets in clothing, not just half pockets or fake pocket stuff. You know, if I had $1, $1 for every pair of women's jeans I've worn with no pockets, I'd have like nowhere to put the money. Yeah. So guys, I did come out a little later in life. I did. I mentioned her. I came out at 30 years old a few years ago. I know. I look too young to say that, but I did. I came out a little later in life, but I had to. You know, guys, it was time. I was just like sick and tired of all that privilege and success. It was just too much. Boy, I had to find a way to slow that down. Straight white guy at 30, cruising through life. Oof. Warren Buffett Jr. That's not the real reason. That's I needed a woman to make me a sandwich. That's why. Well, it's like feminism because I'm going to make my own sandwich, so it's okay. That's why I'm still lying. It's well, I want to eat bananas in public. Fellas, you know how hard that is. No eye contact. Use a knife and fork on that junk. You know, the guys know. They're all point. Except maybe Steve. He might like his bananas in public. I'm not sure. Let's talk about dating. Dating's tough for me. Dating's tough for everybody. Fair. That's a fair statement. But dating's also tough for me. So I actually went to a ladies' night to meet a woman because I like women. Yeah, gender, sexuality, two different things. Education, go team. Cool. And they were charging $5 for women and 10 for men, and charged me 15. So I paid. It was confusing. Okay. But I did, like, when I get inside, this drunk girl, right? She's drunk. They're always drunk. She comes up to me and she's like, "You're so brave." That's my drunk voice, by the way. "You're so brave being your true self." I could, one second, guys. My child decided to walk outside. It's just did a cameo. She's like, "You're so brave being your true self." And I'm like, and she's like, "I'm not going to beat around the bush anymore. I'm a lesbian." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, that is so great. That is so great for you coming out to me. That's wonderful. But I think you're supposed to beat around the bush if you're a lesbian. That's how it works, I think." But I did see another girl at the bar I went to talk to. I want to talk to her, so I went up to talk to her. And she's like, "I'm going to stop you right there. You're not my type. I only like boys, bad boys, actually." And I was like, "Well, I was so bad at being a boy." that didn't work out for me at all. Nope. But so I did get a compliment, attempted compliment in there. This guy says to me, "Hey, you know what? You remind me of Wonder Woman." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, no, not really compliment. Don't want people wondering. Mm-mm. Is there a definite woman I can remind you of? That'd be a little better, you know." Besides, if I was a superhero, I don't even think I'd be that kind of superhero, you know? I think I'd probably be maybe more like an X-Man. Possibly a Transformer, okay? If I was a transformer, though, I'd want to be a really cool car. I know what you guys are thinking. Trans Am. Haha. Gotcha. No. I'd want to be an El Camino. Does everybody know what an El Camino is? Sometimes people don't know. So, like, they're really popular in South America, right? So they have like a car body with a truck bed, right? An El Camino. Really cool. Enjoyable. Last one's in Mexico. Every time I saw one, I was like, oh man, I love those cars. And then it hit me all of a sudden. I'm like, oh man, I love those cars. It's trans. It's just like me. It is, right? Think about it. Let's think about it. All right. You can tell it used to be a car. Looks pretty good as a truck. It's got a nice box. It's just like me. It's just like me. So that's how it works. Oh, I love that joke. I do. I really do. Mainly because I love the cars, I think. That's why. Oh, yeah, it reminds me. I was going to start a transgender advocacy group, guys. Bad idea. Don't. Yep. Just tip for you. Don't call it transmission. Never seen so many confused mechanics before in my life, all right? Did not want to look under my hood. Did not want to look under my hood. Or check my undercarriage. Actually, no, I think one of them might have, but just didn't want to say it in front of his friends. You know how that is. But like trans words in general for me are really weird now since I've been like out for quite some while. Any word with trans in it, I'm like, what? That's related to me now, right? That's me somehow, right? Trans. So like if I hear the word transistor, I'm like, my trans sisters, Or if I hear the word like transcend, I'm like, yeah, that's how I'm replying to my emails, transcend, Or if I hear the word transfer, I'm like, yeah, that was my pubic hair, maybe. Or if I hear trans pizza, that's completely fake, but I'm hungry. But it identifies as broccoli, so we're good. We're good. Unlike the last joke that I loved, I hate that one. So isolation time. I have to look down at a note here because it is isolation, and isolation is new. So I've been in isolation for a couple of months now, like a lot of people in quarantine, and it's so bad I'm going sane. Yeah, sane. Right. I like to say sane instead of nuts. Obvious reasons. I hate it when I'm at a store and somebody goes, "You're nuts," and I'm like, "Stop it, stop it." It's crazy in a store, not in public. Oh my! But I'm a bad isolation partner, that's for sure. I can guarantee you. The voices in my head even stopped talking to me. So, getting pretty lonely. I did find my hobby though. I did find a hobby because you gotta have a hobby while you're in isolation, I think, right? So I picked up eating. Yeah, because I'm a positive person, and sometimes you just gotta look on the plus size. All right, that's how that works. All right. I also wanted to learn how to play a little guitar, so I did. Ukulele. Sometimes I laugh at myself too much. When I first came out, guys, I don't know if this is my trans story. I don't know if it's everybody's, but you don't know what you're doing, or I didn't know what I was doing when I first came out. So I'm just like home crying in the evenings. I just want to fit in. I just want to be normal. Meanwhile, I'm grocery shopping in heels that make me 6'4", wearing dark purple lipstick, and dressed up like I'm going to a prom, begging for people to just treat me like it's like everyone like you no. How can you stick out any further? Carry a big sign. That's about it, really. It's like going through puberty again. I mean, it's everybody's journey, and that's fine, and you can have it. But 40 years old and wearing chokers, we're doing it. We got to learn. Just saying. But I think that's fair. It's our right to learn. Do you guys know? I'm gonna change the tempo. Sometimes people come up to me after shows, when I had shows, and they used to say stuff to me like, "I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you get on stage and tell jokes to people. It must be so hard. I can never do that." And I'm usually like, "Yeah, jokes is the hardest thing I've ever told anybody." But I am starting to get recognized now, which is actually pretty cool. So like the other day, even I walk in, somebody's like, "Hey, didn't I see you? Are you were at your?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Mom, I've been transitioning for years. Get over it, okay?" So I had another guy come up to me at a show, and he goes, "You know what? That show was great. I'd have paid $12 to see that show." And I said, "Listen, buddy, I don't care how nice you are. You're not getting $8 refund. All right, get out of here." Yeah, my show was $20, but it wasn't worth it. I also have 2 kids. Do you guys know what that makes me? This is where the audience yells usually, but transparent. Words are fun, right? Don't worry. Like when I had my kids, I was married, right, and I didn't sleep around or anything like that. I mean, it was legit. Like they have the same father, Yeah, but when I came out, they didn't know what to call me, right? Because daddy was too masculine, really. So we looked up some stuff on the internet that would be like helpful, and we saw things like father and mommy is Fami, or mommy and daddy is Maddie, or something like that. So I tell them this, and then my oldest daughter at the time is 5. She looks at me, she goes, "Okay, so daddy and father's daughter, your daughter." I'm like, "You know what? That's not going to work. I'm going to try again, okay?" And she goes, "Okay." And she comes back a little while later, and she goes, "I got it. Daddy and mummy is dummy. You're a dummy." Yeah. Yep. Shouldn't have left this in the hands of a 5-year-old. That's for sure. But we have a great relate. I hate it when names stick. We have a great relationship. They love their dummy. It's wonderful. It's fun. Parents, kids, right? Wicked. Wicked. When I was younger, I went through a phase where I thought I was adopted. I got up the nerve one day to ask my dad. I said, "Dad, was I adopted?" He said, "No. Why would we have picked you?" That's a fair answer. Turns out I'm not adopted. All right, cool. So I recently had to get a part-time job because this comedy thing's going super well. All right, but because I was new, I had to wear a name tag, but I was too new, so it didn't have my name on it, right? So it said trainee. Trainee. That's mighty close to another word to describe me, isn't it? How does that come? Who helped you today, sir? Oh, it was the train. Nobody. Nobody helped me today. I'm not getting a hate crime over help. Get out of here. You know what I mean? I'll tell you where I wouldn't want to work though. Wouldn't want to work in a postal office. Post office, not a place for me. Mm-mm. Do you know how much more confusing it would be? It would be for me to tell people that I am a male woman. Not going there. Besides, they wouldn't even hire me. I don't think they'd hire me, right? Because I spent 30 years committing mail fraud. So. Sometimes I have to shake my head at myself. So here's a new experience, right? The other day, right, walking down the street, I hear this out of nowhere. "Hey, nice bum." Nice bum. I'm like, "Excuse me, it's 2020, all right?" He prefers to be called person experiencing homelessness. Get it right. Do you guys also notice how many people experiencing homelessness have cell phones? A lot. I don't know about like in Ontario, but in Alberta, a lot of them have phones. I even saw one the other day when I pulled into the gas station with his phone plugged into the side of like an outlet on the side of the gas station. And I was like, man, what a world we live in where homeless people can have iPhones, right? But then I got it out and I saw it was a Samsung. So I'm like, oh yeah, it makes sense. Somebody who's a Samsung user is looking at me funny now. I don't know who it is, but it's one of y'all. I also suffer from anxiety and depression. Yay! Every time I do that, an audience goes, "Yay!" And I'm like, we don't yay for anxiety and depression. That's a terrible thing to yay for. I do, but I do things to try to help it along, right? So a couple of years ago, they're more popular now, but a couple of years ago, I looked into getting a weighted blanket, like a heavy blanket. They're supposed to help. So there was only one on the market actually then, and it was called Canada's Best Weighted Blanket. So I ordered one. But for some reason, I got to thinking, how hard of a title was it to get? Who did they have to fight to get Canada's Best Weighted Blanket? So I did some research, guys. Turns out Canada's best and worst weighted blanket, same blanket. Should have just been Canada's weighted blanket at that point. just saying. I like to tell the weighted blanket joke because when I use it, I can't get out of bed. So that's great for my depression. It's good. It's good. And if anyone tries to get me out of bed, I'm like, back off! I'm chasing my dreams. That's where it goes down. Sometimes you do have to do some stuff though. I tried fishing for compliments. That was a little better. That helped out a little bit. Just I was really getting into art for a while. Found that really relaxing. Right. I had to stop. He found it a little uncomfortable. So, oh, art. He's crazy. A friend of mine said, "Do you ever try cannabis?" I said, "No, it's not really for me." And they said, "No, you should try cannabis." I'm like, "No, it's not really for me." And again, it got me thinking. When I was growing up and in high school and stuff, everyone called it pot or weed or stuff like that, right? Right? Everybody know that? Pot, weed. Right? When did, like, since it became legal, now everybody calls it cannabis. Like it's fancy now or some junk. I don't know. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I can call my Pop-Tarts gourmet breakfast pastries, but I'm still eating them alone on my couch at night crying. We know. We know cannabis. You're just a Pop-Tart. All right? We got it. So finally I did the final thing, not final thing, but the thing you're supposed to do. I think the thing you're supposed to do when you're getting help for anxiety and depression is I went to a psychologist, right, to get some help. But every time I left, I felt worse. Yeah, I'm going to do it. Turns out it was a reverse psychologist. Way better than the reverse gynecologist. Let me tell you what. That's not no bad. Don't get me talking about the reverse gyno. That's a different story. There's this comedian I know. He's really good. He likes to tell this story about how he made an audience member pee. That's a real thing, right? That's a real thing when you can make an audience member pee from laughter. So I got my own kind of story, all right? So one time I made an audience member feel so bad for me that she hugged me after. So I peed on her. It's a great experience for all of us. We got married. No, just kidding. I never saw her again. It's been a heck of a couple of years, right? It's been a heck of a year for everybody. Well, for sure. But at least I'm not pregnant. Right? That would just be messy right now. I cannot go through that right now. That would just be plus biology. That doesn't help. I kind of look pregnant. You guys can't see me super well because I'm like, I hide it well. But I do kind of look pregnant right now because it's my own fault, right? Because like for a long time, I thought I was allowed to identify as skinny. If I was just an active person trapped in the body of a lazy person, I could get away with it, that kind of deal. Turns out that wasn't true. A friend of mine showed me a video. Or I showed a friend of mine a video. Listen to me screw up my joke. And she goes, "Wow, you look really fat in that video." And I'm like, "Excuse me?" And she's like, "Yeah, you look really fat in that video." And I'm like, "Okay." So, well, you know what they say about the camera adding 10 pounds, right? So she pulls out this old gem. I'm sure you've all heard this at some point. But she pulls out this old gem, all right? "Well, how many cameras were on you?" And I'm like, "Just one because I ate the other 3. Now shut up or you're next." I like that joke because it promotes cannibalism, and now you guys know my secrets. It's kind of funny when I get into these things and I start telling people, like, because all I have to do is get on stage and say a couple of things, and you guys know everything about me. I'm a transgender comedian. Right away, you know that I was bad at being a boy, and that I'm bad at real jobs. See how easy that is? It tells you so much, right? It's just terrible. But I do know I have to lose the weight, though. Back to that, guys. I legit do. Because I had my moment, right? I had like my aha moment, my eureka moment. When something happens and like it just snaps and you need to make that change. That happened to me, right? I actually went to a restaurant, sat down, waiter comes over and he goes, "Just so you guys know, this restaurant has 0 trans fats." And I was like, "Is he asking me to leave?" Thank you, everybody. I'm Cindy Rivers.
All right, keep it going for Cindy. And just let's have a round of applause in the chat, or like some whoops, some emojis for all of our comics tonight. Sasha Mark, Chris Dunn, Steev Letts, and Cindy Rivers. I also want to thank the co-producers behind the scenes. Sarah, if it weren't for you, we wouldn't be doing these shows online because I'm old and afraid of change. So thanks for facilitating this and doing all the behind the scenes work. Thank you to Krista for running the Instagram and for running the chat and engaging with everybody. This was an absolutely wonderful show. I had so much fun tonight. I'm going to go home and just write a bunch of comedy. Don't forget to follow Comic Sans. We will be back shortly. I'm not sure when, if we're going to do it monthly, if we're going to do it a little more frequently, because this venue is free. So I don't know. Stay tuned. Follow Comic Sans on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. Tell you when the next show is, and go tell all your friends from all over Canada because they can tune in too. And you can watch the show in your underwear. You can even host the show in your underwear. Trust me. All right, and that's our show. I'm going to stick around in the chat for a few more minutes. So if you have any questions or whatever, we can chat. Otherwise, thank you for tuning in and have a great night. Thank you.